You are watching Access LaPorte County, Channel 97. Coming up next is the August 13th, 2024 meeting of the Michigan City Board of Zoning Appeals. You can find more information for this meeting by visiting www.accesslaportecounty.org.
Good evening, everyone. This is the meeting of the Michigan City Board of Zoning and Appeals. It is Tuesday, August 13th, 2024. The time is 6:05 p.m. And Mr. York, could you start with the roll call?
Absolutely. Mr. Jackson,
Here?
Mr. Klinder,
Here.
Ms. Stransky,
Here.
Ms. Vance,
Here.
Mr. Gross,
Here.
Attorney Hale.
Here.
We do have a quorum tonight.
Okay. Next on the agenda is the approval of minutes from our meeting of March 12th, 2024. If everyone's had a chance to look over the minutes, is there a motion?
I motion that we accept the minutes as written.
I have a motion.
I have some corrections,
Okay.
I believe. We can do that. On the second page, it says a motion and a second on the floor. The roll was called and the vote was taken. Second paragraph down. Board members Jackson, Klinder, Stansky, and Vance voted aye. I abstained on that because I was not at that meeting. I think it should reflect that. My reason for abstaining. And I believe 2 paragraphs down, you were not at the next meeting. And so, Mr. Klinder, and you abstained from that, did you not? From voting on the minutes from 2/13/24? Because they only show 4 of us voting on that meeting, on the minutes. Here.
Aye.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. I'm trying
Was you
to
at that meeting?
see whether I was at that meeting or not.
Okay.
I thought I was. I didn't recall seeing that meeting. Yeah, to repeat myself, I see where it was noted there that I approved it. I do not recall that I missed that meeting. But very well could be. I'm trying to see if I have those minutes from that meeting in my file here. And I don't. So with that so noted, I got to claim ignorance. I'm sorry.
So I think for clarity, we should have it in there. If all 5 were present at this meeting, why somebody should not have voted. Am I correct there? Because we have to have permission from the chair to actually abstain.
If there's no recollection, I think perhaps we could postpone until. I'm sorry. Perhaps we should just continue the approval of these minutes until our next meeting, and Mr. Klinder then can confirm whether or not he was present, and then we can have the meeting. However, your suggestion about the second paragraph on page 2 is well taken, and I think that the minute should be corrected to show that Mr. Gross abstained on that vote. So we made that correction, but my suggestion is that you just continue the approval of the minutes to our next meeting.
Okay. There's 2 other things. If we go down to the about 2/3 down, it's bolded with a motion and second on the floor. We have a board vote 5 ayes, but it only says 4. I think that needs to be corrected. Same page, right down there. Go to text on the next vote.
That's under the election of officers, correct? That's what you're talking about?
Right, election of officers.
Yeah, 'cause I see where there's 5 and
If
4.
I understand that the number 4 should be replaced with a number 5.
Number 5,
That-
it shows 5 people voted aye,
The typograph.
a typo or something.
I think that's a good point, and that the minutes should be corrected to reflect that.
Okay, and then the next vote down, the last paragraph on the page, same thing.
Same comment.
Same comment, and then flip the page over, the second paragraph down, another vote was taken, the same thing.
These are all good. Changing the number 4 to number 5 on those 3 locations is all appropriate correction.
Okay, that's all I have on it.
So at this point, do we want to call for a continuance to approve these on?
Yes.
Because we have one more point that we can't solve tonight.
Yes.
So, all right.
I move for a continuance.
So I have a motion to continue these. Is there a second?
A second.
Seconded by Deb. Mr. York, can you call the poll on that,
Absolutely.
please?
Second. Mr. Jackson,
Yes.
Mr. Klender,
Yeah,
Ms. Stransky,
Yes.
Ms. Vance,
Yes.
Mr. Gross.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Next on our agenda is our petitions. Mr. York, can you call our first petition, please?
This,
And
yeah, absolutely.
with your permission, Mr. Jackson, may I do so?
Yes, please.
Our first petition tonight is B-100-24. Petitioner Candace Adams with Attorney Bradley Adamski representing her. I would just request, with your approval, that this matter be put at the end of our agenda when Sylvia is back here, because I do not want to misstate what has happened. I will tell you that it's my understanding that the petitioner has withdrawn the petition because the petitioner now believes that it's not necessary. And therefore she doesn't need to proceed with the petition. But before that becomes part of our approval of the withdrawal, I think we should wait for Sylvia to explain. Our next petition then is petition B-101-24. Petitioner is Mark Espar, requesting a use variance to allow a former first floor apartment to be made back to its original apartment. I believe Mr. Espar is here.
Good evening, board members. My name is Joseph Zachney, and I'm an attorney at Esper and Associates in Michigan City, and I represent the petitioner, Mark Esper, who is here with us today. As Mr. Hill pointed out, Mr. Esper is seeking a use exception for the property he owns at 202 and 202.5 Ripley Street. Mr. Esper resides at 1501 Washington Street. That's that big brick building on the corner of Washington and Ripley. Just west of his home is the property at 202 and 202.5 Ripley. And for many years, that two-story building was used for 2 small apartments, an upstairs apartment and a downstairs apartment. Now, the current ordinance provides that 1 accessory dwelling unit may be created on a lot containing an existing single-family dwelling. That's found at Article 14, Section 1401. The first point I'd like to make is that Mr. Esper did not create the 2-unit accessory dwelling at 202 and 202.5 Ripley Street. It was there when he acquired the property a number of years ago. And as I mentioned, 202 and 202.5 Ripley Street had been used as two separate residential apartments for years before Mr. Esper acquired the property. Mr. Esper simply wants to restore the property to its prior use and is willing and committed to substantially improving the property to produce two well-maintained and modern residential housing units. As to the statutory factors that this board has to find in its findings of fact, first, the approval will not be injurious to the public health, safety, morals, and general welfare of the community. I think there's a good faith factual basis to find that here, the proposed use would not only not be injurious to the public health, safety, morals, and general welfare of the community, it would instead serve a public interest by providing affordable housing and contributing to the local housing stock and general welfare of the community without negatively impacting the community. As to factor two, the use and value of the area adjacent to the property included in the variance will not be affected in a substantially adverse manner. The variance would have a minimal impact on the surrounding properties and would not alter the essential character in an adverse manner. The area would continue to be a residential neighborhood. That's the essential character of the area. The surrounding properties all are residential, and the property, if the variance is granted, will retain its character as a residential property. Three, the need for the variance arises from some condition peculiar to the property. The property is subject to the property here is subject to the 2-unit dwelling attached to it, and its best use is as a residential property. If you can't use the bottom as a residential apartment, the only thing it could be used for is storage, which would be wasteful in terms of, again, the need for well-maintained residential housing, which was what this would be. For years, that dwelling has been used as 2 apartments. Number 4, the strict application of the terms of the zoning ordinance will constitute an unnecessary hardship if applied to the property for which the variance is sought. Now, although the case law says that the hardship may not be solely an economic hardship, and that can't be the sole reason for the variance, it can be one of several reasons for it. And I would submit that here, the property can't really yield a reasonable return or you've used effectively under the current zoning restrictions. We'd have one apartment upstairs and then something that could very easily and very efficiently be made into another apartment operating as a storage unit at best. In order to utilize the upstairs apartment, Mr. Esper would have to and is committed to insulating the downstairs so the pipes would not freeze upstairs in the winter, installing heat in the downstairs, again, so the pipes don't freeze, install a firewall between the downstairs apartment and the upstairs apartment. After all these extensive and expensive modifications, it would just take a little bit more to turn that downstairs dwelling into an apartment that somebody could rent. And so the economically efficient thing to do would be to turn it into an apartment because everything's going to be there that would allow it to be an apartment. Further, Mr. Esper didn't create the unnecessary hardship. That building was there as a 2-unit building at the time he acquired it. And finally, the approval does not interfere substantially with the comprehensive plan adopted under the 500 series of this chapter. Again, I can't imagine there's anything that would violate the comprehensive plan by allowing 2 separate apartments there. In fact, I think the comprehensive plan would probably envision taking steps that would increase the amount of affordable housing stock in the city, and this plan would certainly go to that. So Mr. Esper respectfully requests that the board grant the variance. If the board has any questions, I'm here to answer, as is Mr. Esper and his contractor, Brian Calvin. Thank you.
Mr. York, do you have your planning report?
I know that one is created, and I believe Mr. Hell has it. I'm gonna let. You want me to read it? I'll gladly read it. I just didn't.
Mr. Jackson, with your approval, I'll go through this because I've had an opportunity to read it and to go over it with Sylvia, so I feel
Absolutely.
comfortable with that.
Thank you.
I would start, however, if I may, with my report. And I would like to note for the board that I've had an opportunity to review all of the notice documentation submitted by the petitioner. They are in order. He has satisfied all of our notice requirements, and you're free to consider the matter this evening. Next, the petitioner submitted a great deal of materials, including our instruction and checklist, the actual Michigan City Board of Zoning.
Excuse me, Mr. Hale? Mr. Hale?
Yeah.
Can you move the microphone closer because we're not picking it up? Sorry.
The materials that the petitioner submitted included our checklist of the Michigan City Board of Zoning Appeals petition for a use variance. 2 pages of vicinity maps, site plan, a written description of the project, the proposed finding in order for a use variance, project data, the legal description, a beacon overview of the property showing the property owners within 300 feet, and a list of the names and addresses of the property owners within that 300 feet. The record will also include the planning department report, which I will read shortly. This report and the testimony and the presentation that was presented by the petitioner and his attorney this evening. As is apparent and stated, the petitioner is requesting a use variance to use the bottom floor of an accessory dwelling unit as another or second apartment. A second apartment isn't permitted, so the use must be approved by a use variance, and that's why we're here. You have heard Mr. Zachnon talk about the requirements that you are to consider. They're also included in my report. And finally, I would just note that you may grant this request as requested. You may partially grant the request or grant it with limitations. Or you may grant the request but subject to certain conditions, but those conditions must be enumerated in the motion made to grant the request. Or you could deny the request, or you could table the petition until a further meeting. The staff report by Ms. Martin indicates that the petitioner is requesting a use variance to add an additional rental unit to the first floor of 1501 Washington Street. The property is zoned R1D, single-family residential. Required under our zoning ordinance, section 4.02, the use is not permitted in the district. Uses not listed in the table are also not permitted. That's table and section 4.02. Requested, the petitioner is requesting a use variance. The petitioner seeks to add an additional unit to the first floor of the existing carriage house. Comments. The petitioner is requesting a use variance to add an additional rental unit to the first floor of the existing carriage house. The petitioner is requesting to be allowed to have a duplex, a pair of dwellings that may be located side by side with a shared wall from the finished floor to the roof, or that may be attached vertically separated by a floor which are located on a single platted lot. This may also be termed as a two-family. The proposed findings by the staff, the standards for a use variance have been set out below in italics, 28.11 subsection A, with the department's proposed findings. 1, the approval will not be injurious to the public health, safety, morals, and general welfare of the community. The proposed use of this structure will follow all applicable requirements to transition to the newly proposed use. Allowing this use will not negatively affect the property's value or communities. The petitioner seeks to convert the first floor of the property's carriage house from a storage to an apartment. Doing so, if anything, would provide more affordable housing to the area, creating a positive impact on the community's general welfare. The proposed use will align with the existing and permitted uses in the surrounding area. 2, the use and value of the area adjacent to the property included in the variance will not be affected in a substantially adverse manner. The proposed use is consistent with other uses found in the surrounding property area and will not affect the value or use of the surrounding properties. the petitioner will be improving the overall aesthetic of the structure by remodeling the exterior and interior of the first floor carriage house to align with residential regulations. The proposed use has the potential to improve the values of the community. 3, the need for the variance does arise from some condition peculiar to the property involved. The first floor carriage house is currently being used for storage. However, it was previously utilized as a residential structure. To comply with the ordinance, the petitioner is attempting to acquire a use variance so that the storage area of property can be utilized as residential. 4, the strict application of the terms of the zoning ordinance will constitute an unnecessary hardship if applied to the property for which the variance is sought. The structure was originally built as a residential structure. However, the petitioner has transitioned the structure into storage. The strict application to the zoning code restricts the petitioner from reverting to first floor carriage house back into a residential unit. This has the potential to improve the property and community. 5, the approval does not interfere substantially with the comprehensive land development plan due to the location of this property and the adjacent zoning classifications and uses. Approval of this use will not significantly deviate from the comprehensive land development plan and the recommended use for this area. Recommendation. The department recommends approval of the requested use variance for docket number B-101-24, subject to the following conditions. The petitioner shall only be allowed to convert the first floor of the carriage house into a new unit for rental purposes. And 2, the petitioner is required to have off-street parking spaces per dwelling, which translate to 2 parking spaces off-street for the carriage house. That's the extent of Ms. Martin's report. I would ask, with your approval, Mr. Jackson, if I can ask 2 questions of the petition.
Please.
First, I would like you to confirm, Mr. Esper, that you are the trustee of the Mark A. Esper Trust, which is the owner of the property.
Yes, I am. Mr. Espar, would you mind coming to the microphone, give your name and address just for the record, please?
My name is Mark Esper. I reside at 1501 Washington Street, Michigan City, Indiana.
And you are the trustee.
I'm the trustee, yes,
And you have a beneficial interest.
and I have a beneficial interest.
Thank you. My other question is one, I think, just relating to what you're requesting, and that is this. What sanitation and or water facilities are on the bottom unit, the storage unit?
Currently, the sanitation and the water is supplied by 1501 Washington Street. And
But it's there, there's facilities there.
yes,
That's really my question.
And
Yeah.
hot and water tap.
yes,
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
yes.
Thank you, Mr. Jackson.
Hang on.
I have several questions. First of all, how long ago was that an apartment?
The apartment, it's probably been about 20 plus years.
So it's been a while.
It's been a while, and I didn't want to rent it out because I didn't think it was truly habitable the way it was.
Is the upstairs apartment currently rented out?
No, it's
It's not
currently under renovation.
Okay, so there is nobody in there, okay. And the stairs for the upstairs apartment to access it, are those inside the building or are those outside?
Outside.
Outside, so the 520 square feet of area is actually the entire apartment. There's no access between the 2 apartments inside. Okay. And then the last one, I think he brought up the parking. You need 2 parking spaces for the main house. You need 1 parking space for each apartment, which would be 4. The driveway only has space for 2. Now, looking at that, in front of the house, it's all yellow curb. And down Ripley Street on the north side, it's also all yellow curb. And there are several houses along that street which do not have access to an alley and do not have driveways, so they must park on the street. Is there sufficient parking in the street for each apartment to have a parking space along with the other parking spaces the other houses on the street will need?
currently, I do not use the drive as a parking space. I usually park across the street at St. Stanislaus. On the south side of Ripley Street is parallel parking, and I rarely, if ever, park along Ripley Street also. The unit has currently space for 2 cars, but my intention is to level it to allow for a 4-car parking off-street.
So you plan on widening the driveway then? Okay. So that would not cause problems for your neighbors that have no off-street parking?
No.
Okay, so we can put that in as a condition. Do you know when you plan on doing that?
Well, certainly after approval of the variance, but right along with the renovations that are going on.
With the renovations, so if we put that in as a condition that you widen it into 4 spaces, you would have no problem with that?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Commissioners, anybody else, or board members, does anybody else have comments or questions? No? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Next section is going to be public comment. Is there public comment on this? Public comment. Public comment. Public comments closed. Board members, is there a motion or any other discussions?
I make a motion that we approve it with the condition that the driveway be widened to accommodate for off-road, off-street parking spaces.
I second it.
Wasn't there another condition that we were looking at from the planners? Or was that parking?
There was a parking condition, the second I'm sorry, there was a second condition, and that condition was merely to clarify that the petitioner is only allowed to put 1 dwelling unit in that downstairs of the accessory dwelling. So the approval is for only 1 additional dwelling unit.
Okay.
That was her recommendation. It's not a condition unless it's not a condition unless it's part of.
Yeah, Mr. Gross, do you want to reword yours or are
Well,
you?
Can I ask a question? When you say it's just additional dwelling, we're talking about on the main level because he's already remodeling the second.
Yeah, but be very clear what we're
Okay.
saying here. There will be, when this is completely done, 3 dwelling units on this lot.
Lot, okay.
They're approving the 2 right now. One's under renovation. It's already existing, so it's therefore grandfathered in, and I believe it's been used many times or for years now. And so what he's trying to do is really make that bottom, even though it was already there, he's really trying to make it a legal use essentially, which just makes it cleans it up.
Mm.
So that's the additional unit.
Mr. Gross, do you want to reword your motion?
No, it's already been made and seconded. Do we need to vote it down first?
You can amend your petition and
Okay.
the second will allow the amendment and join.
Yeah.
Okay, I would like to amend my petition then to also include that the ground floor apartment only contain 1 dwelling unit.
I second it.
Okay, I have a motion by Mr. Gross, a second by Ms. Vance. Roll call, Mr. York.
Oh, sorry, forget. Thanks for staying on me.
Back to the old.
Oh, Mr. Jackson,
Yes.
Mr. Klender,
Yes.
Ms. Stransky,
Yes.
Ms. Vance,
Yes.
and Mr. Gross.
Yes.
Motion approved. Thank you so much.
Very good. Thank you. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Mr. York, I believe we have one more petition.
Yeah. Yes, we do. So for clarification, I do know a little bit about each one of these. I do review them, but I have not read this thoroughly through the report. So I'm gonna let Steve read through the reports
Okay.
for this, but our next petition. I'm gonna let Mr. Hale read it.
Our next petition is petition B 101 2, 102 24. Tyler Martin, petitioner, Mulder Investment Group owner, requesting a special exception use for a tattoo shop. I believe that there are petitioners here, and if you would come up to the dais and
Just state your name and your address for the records, please.
My name is Tyler Martin. I reside at 2005 Ohio Street, Michigan City, Indiana, 46360. Now, I can't say I've done this before, so I wrote a mission statement, just kind of running over some things that might answer your questions along the way. And like I said, we're just here for the special use variance. My vision for this tattoo shop is to make it the top destination for tattoo art and culture. I'm dedicated to setting it apart from the other 4 locations in town. Our goal is to actively engage with the community by organizing events year-round and creating a space where creativity and self-expression flourish. We aim to change the public perceptions of tattoos. As a modern tattoo shop, we are open to industry changes and proficient in using digital tools for tattoo design and planning. Our business plan emphasizes adapting to new generations, focusing on personalized client experiences, a strong social media presence, and other innovative concepts. With over 400 million in redevelopment projects currently underway, the city will see the addition of hundreds of new apartments. As the city undergoes revitalization, there will likely be a significant increase in both tourists and new residents. This presents an opportune time to introduce a new sustainable business to the city. Tattoo shops are immune to the negative impacts that e-commerce has on retail businesses. Additionally, as tattooing becomes more socially acceptable, it is important to embrace these changing attitudes. The property in question has remained vacant for over a year, and nationally there has been an increase in storefront vacancies. Vacant properties have been linked to higher crime rates, reduced property values, increased fire risks, and a negative public health impact. We expect a consistent flow of customers, which can benefit nearby businesses by increasing foot traffic. With a large parking lot and easy access, we aim to address any concerns about traffic and parking. To appeal to those in surrounding neighborhood with more traditional and conservative values, we plan to enrich the cultural and artistic vibrancy of this area. This tattoo shop will have an appealing aesthetic, which could potentially raise surrounding property values. Community involvement is one of our main priorities. Although many of our plans hinge on the outcome of this petition, we have already begun organizing various events, fundraisers, and partnerships. First on our agenda, after the official opening day, projected opening day of October 15th, we will be hosting a trunk or treat event with ample parking available. We also plan to hold charity events such as Ink for a Cause Days, where a percentage of our earnings will be donated to local charities and non-for-profits. Additionally, we aim to collaborate with local galleries and art studios to showcase joint art projects. We believe that actively engaging with the community will not only benefit our business, but also provide people of all ages with opportunities for growth and enjoyment, all while supporting a local business. I hope this discussion has illuminated the significant value our tattoo shop can bring to the community. By focusing on a high-quality, aesthetically pleasing establishment, we aim to enhance the neighborhood's vibrancy, attract foot traffic, and contribute positively to the local economy. Our commitment to excellence and community engagement is designed to foster a thriving environment that benefits both the immediate area and the broader community. We believe that with your support, our tattoo shop will not only achieve its business goals, but also become a valuable asset to the community, enriching its character and economic health. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Martin. Martin, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And Miss Martin? Mrs. Martin? So welcome.
Thank you.
Have you got a report for us?
I do.
Okay.
I do. These are the facts and findings for the planning department for the petition B-102-24 3502 Michigan Boulevard. There were no complaints from the water department, sanitary, and or fire department. The planning department has a petition requesting a special exemption use to change the existing use of 3502 East Michigan Boulevard from an auto body repair shop to a tattoo establishment. The zoning ordinance requirement for this structure is Zone B2 General Commercial. Based upon our zoning, the requirement states that use and development of land and buildings shall only be for the following specific use unless otherwise provided for in an ordinance by obtaining a special exemption approval when all applicable standards cited in the Article 24 Special Exemption Review Requirements and Procedures subjected to the requirements set out in Section 14.04B. The petitioner is requesting a special exemption use to change the existing use of 3502 East Michigan Boulevard from an auto body repair shop to a tattoo establishment. My comments, the current use of the establishment is a auto repair shop. The petitioner, however, is interested in opening a tattoo establishment, which is only permissible if the petitioner is granted a special exemption use as established in our zoning ordinance section 07.02. The standards for a special exemption use are found in zoning code section 24.05B and are set out below with the department proposed finding. The first question that needed to be answered is under general welfare. The proposed will not be injurious to the public health, safety, and general welfare of the community. My comment is the proposed development will not cause any threats to the public health, moral, or general welfare for the establishment of the proposed use. The current use is established as an auto body repair shop. The petitioner, however, is interested in utilizing the property for a tattoo business. The tattoo shop requested in petition is in accordance with the regulations set out in the special exemption use of the zoning ordinance in its respective zone and will not impact the existing flow of businesses. The proposed project will not change or alter the existing structure. Number 2, under surrounding properties, the special exemption use will not be injurious to the use enjoyment of other properties in the immediate vicinity for the proposed use already permitted, nor substantially diminish or impair property value within the neighborhood. Granting this special exemption use will not be injurious to the business. They will utilize high quality sterilized tattoo equipment and provide throughout aftercare consultation. The interior layout aims to create a comfortable and inviting atmosphere, featuring seating, entertainment options such as TV. Furthermore, the tattoo shop commits to a strict adherence to the health regulations, obtain all necessary licenses. The site is zoned for B2 business commercial, and the proposed use is following the ordinance. Number 3, under hazards. The special exemption use shall not be hazardous or adjacent properties or involves use, activity, materials, or equipment that will be detrimental to the health, safety, or welfare of the property throughout the excessive production of traffic, noise, smoke, or odor, fumes, or glares. Allowing the special exemption use will not be any more impactful than what is currently on the site. The special exemption use will not adversely affect the use and enjoyment of the neighboring properties. Currently vacant, the subjected property intends to undergo renovations that will enhance the visual appearance and contribute to the overall aesthetic improvement of the area, potentially increasing the neighborhood quality. The site will continue to function as a business like the surrounding properties. There will be no increase in noise, smoke, or fumes at the site. Number 4, under public facilities and services. The use will serve adequately by essential public facilities and services such as highways, streets, police, fire protection, drainage structure, water, sewage facility, refuse disposal, and schools. The use will provide adequate utility, access, road, drainage, and other necessary site improvements, because with the change in the use, there will be no change in the structure. The property will continue to follow the regulations set forth within the zoning ordinance. The site will not impact the utilities, road access, drainage, and or necessary improvements any more than what the site currently allows on the property. The site has the required amount of off-site parking, cutting down on traffic congestion as well. The tattoo establishment will follow all of the regulations of the zoning district. Special exemption use regulation, therefore not impeding development of the surrounding properties. Number 5, develop under developmental requirements. The development of the property will be consistent with the intent of the development requirements established by the ordinance for similar uses. The development will be designed, constructed, operated, and maintained to be compatible with and not significantly alter the existing or intended character of the general vicinity based upon the county land development plan and ordinance. Approval of the special exemption use will not adversely impact or alter the existing pattern of development of the surrounding area. The tattoo establishment will adhere to all regulation, ensuring access to utilities without disrupting road access or drainage. It will also adequately be served by public facilities, including fire protection, police services, and other water sewage system as stipulated in the zoning regulation. The development will align with the overall intent of the county and city comprehensive plan as well as the city zoning ordinance. The petitioner is not requesting to change the zoning, which is B2. The current use is established as the auto body shop. The petitioner is interested in opening a tattoo establishment, which is only permissible if the petitioner is granted a special exemption use as established in our zoning ordinance under section 07.02. Number 6, under ordinance intent, granting a special exemption use will not be contrary to the general purposes served by the ordinance and will not permit injury to other properties or use in the same zoning district and vicinity. The special exemption use will not permanently alter the patterns of the developing surrounding area. The petitioner is not requesting to change the zoning, which is B2. Therefore, aligns with the use in the same zoning district and vicinity. The parking lot features an ingress and egress, minimizing traffic and congestion. Number 7, under County Land Development Plan, the proposed use will be consistent with the character of the zoning district in which it is located and recommendations of the County Land Development Plan. The requested special exemption use will be consistent with the character and intent as set forth by the existing zoning ordinance and comprehensive and land development plan. The petitioner is interested in a special exemption use to utilize the property as a tattoo establishment. The use is allowable through a special exemption in B2 district and therefore aligns with the use in the same zoning district and vicinity. Number 8, use regulations. Where there is use-specific regulations contained in Article 14, the special exemption use shall comply with all other regulations. Under Section 7.2 of our zoning ordinance provides that the tattoo establishments are eligible for approval as a special exemption use, provided that the requirements of Section 14.04B are met as follows. The site shall not be within 100 feet of the residential district. The petitioner, he does not exist within 100 feet of a residential structure. The site shall not be within 100 feet of an adult regulated use. There is no 1,100. I'm on one. Oh, I said one. Okay. The site shall not be within 1,000 feet of an adult regulated use. There is no adult regulated use located within 1,000 feet of this property, so he qualifies for that. The use shall not operate after 10 p.m. The city's recommendation. The city recommends approval of the petition B-10224 with the following conditions to be met. The use shall not operate after 10 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you.
I drive by that every day.
We all set? I'm sorry.
His
Report. Okay. Attorney Hale's report, please.
Yes, sir. My report is for petition B-102-24. The petitioner applicant is Tyler Martin, who has spoken and is now standing before you at the dais. The property owner is Mulder Michigan City Investment Group LLC. The request, as you know, is for a special exception use for property at 3502 East Michigan Boulevard, Michigan City, Indiana. I would first indicate to you that, again, I have had the opportunity to review the notice documentation supplied by the petitioner. That documentation is in order. It covers all of our requirements, and you're free to consider this matter this evening. Next, I would advise you that the record in this matter includes the materials submitted by the petitioner, which include substantial documentation starting with the instruction and checklist for our petition, the Board of Zoning Appeals petition itself for special exception use, signed by David Mulder, who is the manager of the Mulder Michigan City Investment Group LLC and its authorized agent. The surrounding property owner list of 2 pages, an acknowledgement of the public hearing notice requirements, a notice of public hearing, the affidavit of service signed by the petitioner, petitioner's proposed finding and order for special exception use, a Google map of the property, 6 photographs showing the layout and the interior, a floor plan with building dimensions, a second beacon overview map, a project description of 2 pages, a project data table giving information about the site, the trustee's deed of the property, a list of surrounding property owners and their addresses, and another overhead map of the property. The record will also include the planning department report, which Ms. Martin just gave to you. This report, which you have a copy of in front of you, and the materials and testimony presented this evening at the public hearing. As you know, Section 7.02 and the accompanying Table 7.2 list a series of uses that are permissible in a particular area, in this case, a B2 zoning district, or not permitted because they are not mentioned, or are a special exception use. And we're here because a tattoo establishment is set as a special exception use. And that, in many instances, includes a requirement in the zoning ordinance in Table 7.2 as to some requirements that are found in Article 14. In this case, 14.04 subsection B. Ms. Martin read those to you. The requirement of 100 feet at least distance from the nearest residential district, the requirement that 1,000 feet or more distance between an adult establishment, and finally that the establishment cannot operate after 10 p.m. at night. And in that regard, Ms. Martin included in her recommendation to you that a condition that the property and the business only be allowed to be open until 10 p.m. All special exception uses are subject to Article 14.04 in Article 24, and those requirements are shown for this special exception use in Section 24.05. And I'm not going to repeat these. They were included in Ms. Martin's report, and they're written in the sections that you have. I like to conclude my reports by reminding you of what the ordinance allows you to do. You may approve this request if findings are made consistent with the general requirements of Section 24.05. and specifically section 14.04B. Or you can approve the request with the findings consistent with those two sections, but subject to certain additional conditions. Those conditions must be included in any motion to approve the request. Or you can deny the request. Or finally, you could continue the hearing until a future meeting. And that's the end of my report.
Thank you, Mr. Hale. Board members, comments, questions?
Real quick, there was just, first of all, a very good and thorough presentation. Really enjoyed it.
Yes.
Thank you.
Good job. But there was a reference a couple of times to a vacant building. And as I drove by it today, it didn't look vacant. Is it going to be vacant or?
The building has been on the market for over a year now. It has been vacant, yes. Caliber Collision, I will say, is behind the building, but we are going to be using the showroom floor and some office space behind it.
Mr. Jackson, may I add to that?
Please, Mr. Hale.
For reasons relating to notice, I had an opportunity to take a look at in great detail at the beacon pictures. I took a couple of snapshots and so forth. Caliber Collision is a tenant and has a business ongoing in the back of that property. And that's what Mr. Taylor is referring to. So it is there, and it's obviously still going to continue according to you.
Now, you will also be a tenant there. You are not buying the building, is that correct?
No, just a tenant.
Okay. Besides the collision shop and yours, is there any other vacant space in that building that you know of?
Not that I know. You still have this is the realtor for the property right here as well. He would know a
Okay.
little more than I would.
You want to come on up and give us your name and address for the record, please?
Sure, Nick Landers, 2210 Florman Drive, Long Beach, Indiana. I'm a real estate broker with Coldwell Banker Realty and representing the seller and the petitioner on this as a limited agent. And the property, I've had it listed now for quite some time. Caliber is a long-term lease with that building. They're going to be there considerable length of time. Tyler is renting or proposing to rent the front showroom and then a small amount of office space behind that. There is another section of the building that is currently being used as an auto body repair shop by Caliber as well. But there's a small area in between Caliber and the proposed tattoo shop that would still be for lease. I think it's about 1,500 square feet. Hope that answers it.
And we are looking at a proposal just to give a variance for that front part of the building, not for the entire parcel.
That is correct.
Okay.
Thank you.
Board members, any other questions?
No, I like your layout, looking at your pictures. You're gonna change those words on the front though, right?
Yes.
You're gonna put for what you guys got.
Yeah, all that painting on the windows,
Yes.
that's going. And just for the record, I'm not an architect, but everything you see in those pictures will be done by
Yeah,
next
it looks
March.
really nice,
Yes.
so, yeah.
Anybody else? Any other questions? Thank you, Mr. Martin.
Thank you.
Next is going to be public comment. Public comment?
Hi, Tommy Kolovic, 1316 Ohio Street. I just want to welcome another tattoo parlor at Michigan Boulevard. I don't think we've had one since Johnny's World pulled out there at school and in the Boulevard that are in Hendrick Street. I have no problem with it. It's no different than a barber shop or a beauty shop or a salon. That was my only question, is the hours of operations. I'm just because they're closed at 10, because I do have a lot of friends that live there on Warnocky Road. I know there's somebody in this room that lives right by there. I just want to thank them and hope their business does well and wish them all the success and good luck there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, can I ask one question about when the office hours are gonna be? When are they gonna be open? What their hours are going to be?
Our proposed hours were already 10 a.m. to 10 p.m.
Okay.
So
Thank you.
thank you.
Hello, board. Scott Mellon, 200 Kenwood Place. I too would offer my encouraged support for this business. When I looked at the plat of the address, I was concerned. This is a huge facility. I'm like, how's a tattoo parlor supposed to support this? So clarifying that it's actually just the kind of the front office area makes a lot of sense. And it's a great location.
Yes.
Perfect for, it's almost discriminatory that tattoo parlors are cited as, it's kind of a history of the past. They're quite mainstream now, and I don't even see why it should be a special exception. But here we are. I would hope you grant it to these people so they can bring some vibrancy to the boulevard. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
Good evening, Dakota Euler, 718 Emma Street. Are you able to hear me?
Yes.
All right. I find this as a great addition to our city's art scene, and I offer congratulations on taking a leap and opening a tattoo shop on Michigan Boulevard. It's pretty clear that they've poured their heart and soul into this venture. I'm rooting for their success and can't wait to see all the positive impacts that it brings to our community. Again, I am in support of this. My only question would be that if there is any neon signs or any flashing signs, that they would also be stagnant or not be flashing after the 10 p.m. hours. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Public comment? Drew, anybody else? No? Public comments now closed. Please.
I just wanted to inform the board how efficient they were with completing their documentation. They kept great contact, great communication, even over the weekend. They worked hard to gather a lot of the information, even though they have legal representation. I believe that they themselves put a lot of the documents together. They wanted to learn the process and wanted to abide by all regulations. So congratulations. I know I came in on the end of your spiel, but it was very detailed like I asked you to do. So you follow great directions. We love that.
Okay. Board members? Is there a motion?
I would like to make a motion that it be approved with the one condition that it only be approved for the 0.479 acres that are shown on the beacon map provided to us and not the rest of that parcel.
Mr. Gross, do you want to add in the 10 p.m. closing time? Or
And that
is
the 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. hours are the limits of operation.
So I have a motion by Mr. Gross. Is there a second?
I second it.
Seconded by Ms. Vance. Ms. Martin, for the roll, please.
I will call for the vote. Mr. Jackson,
Yes.
Mr. Klender,
Yes.
Ms. Stransky,
Yes.
Ms. Van,
Yes.
and Mr. Gross.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Good luck.
Mr. Jackson,
Mr. Hale, please.
you'll recall that I asked that we continue the report on the first petition on our agenda. That was petition B-100-24, Candace Adams, the petitioner, and Bradley Adamski, legal counsel. And I wanted to have you consider that after Ms. Martin could advise you as to the exact request.
Ms. Martin,
Yes.
can you walk us through this?
Yes, so the petitioner was requesting to do a juvenile detention center facility. However, the petitioner has requested to withdraw its petition as it will be going through the licensing process to be a licensed group home and no longer is interested in applying for a petition because with the license, they will be in alliance with our zoning ordinance.
Okay.
By right.
Mr. Hale, is there anything else we need to do with that?
I think you can approve the request of the petitioner to withdraw the petition and have an actual motion and take a vote on it.
Is there a motion
I
for the
motion,
petitioner to withdraw?
I motion that we, allow the petitioner to withdraw her.
I have a motion by Ms. Vance. Is there a second?
Second. Okay.
I'll call for the vote. Mr. Jackson,
Yes.
Mr. Klender,
Yes.
Ms. Stransky,
Yes.
Ms. Van,
Yes.
and Mr. Gross.
Yes.
Motion approved to withdraw.
Next on our agenda, we go into the old business. Ms. Martin, is there any old business?
No old business to my knowledge.
Is there any new business?
No new business to my knowledge.
Okay. Next on the agenda is public comment. Public comment, I'm going to ask that you keep it to 2 minutes, and I'm wanting public comment to stay something to do with the Board of Zoning, please.
Scott Melancher, Kenwood Place. Well, I'm gonna ask a question. Considering the petition was withdrawn, does anyone know if there's public hearings involved with that licensing? I know it's slightly off topic, but I don't know where else to ask this question.
Answer it.
Please.
If she acquires the license, then she is granted by zoning by right. There will be no, it will be done by the state, and there will be no reason for us to intervene as a.
I realize it wouldn't be in front of this board. I was just wondering if there'd be other avenues for public comment.
I doubt it. The state will identify whether she qualifies. They will make their determination and order regulation. It probably won't even be a meeting. It'll be a letter or something given to them. I'm not really sure of that process exactly. But that goes through the state and it doesn't even make it to our board.
Because I lived across from a group home for over 10 years, and they could be problematic in a residential area. So it's kind of unfortunate there wouldn't be room for the neighbors to have a voice in that. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Public comment? Public comment? Public comment is now closed. Is there board comment?
Yes, I have been looking for the rules and procedures that pertain to the Board of Zoning Appeals. And so far, nobody has really been able to provide anything. So if anybody knows of any of the rules or procedures that have been approved in the past and can dig up the documentation on it or tell me where it is or tell the board where it is, I'd really appreciate it. I'd like to have that on the agenda for next meeting to review what we have as rules and procedures. Thank you.
Mr. Jackson?
Mr. Hale?
That's a very pertinent comment, and I think we should do that. Mr. Klender no doubt remembers that. I mean, we have had votes here and we have approved various written rules and procedures, but we should have that of record. And I know the staff has been looking, and I will do the same.
I would like to make another comment on that. When I say rules and procedures, rules would be, okay, do we follow Robert's rules? If we do, there should be something on that. As far as who are affected neighbors, the state dictates that adjacent and abutting neighbors and ones across the street are affected, need notice. Have we expanded that? I think now it says 300 feet, but where in writing does it state that? And it's just rules like that. And again, procedures of the board. Are there things the board requires of petitioners to hear it? Thank you.
Mr. Hale, earlier, we were having discussions about our last meeting's minutes. And the question was Fred here?
Yes.
And I did not realize it, but Mr. York actually handed me the attendance sheet. I am so sorry. So I have the attendance sheet here from, let's see, March. So is that what we were looking for, was the March? the hybrid meeting of March 12th. Fred, you were here. You were here.
He was here, yes. But why did he abstain from voting? That was the question.
Well,
He did not vote on that matter, and that's where I think the minutes need to clarify. And I want to say, but I don't recall that he wasn't at the meeting that we voted on for those minutes. I don't think he was at the February meeting, but I don't recall what the reason was. That's all I can think of.
And
So-
I will check. It may have been an error, and that error can be corrected if he did vote at that time and not abstain, because I don't recall anyone abstaining from any votes that were here. So I will go back and check the minutes with the person that does our minutes and make sure that we adjust that correction.
Just so you know, at the previous at that meeting for the minutes of 12/23, I did abstain from voting because I was not at that meeting.
So
So when
maybe
you go
it was
to
just
the-
your name that needs to be replaced with his.
Right, when you go to March 12, you'll find out I did abstain there. And again, I don't know why his name is not recorded one way or the other on the vote. Thank you.
No problem. We will get that corrected. It may have just been an oversight. And that can be corrected.
okay. Board members, is there anything else?
Yes, I would like to bring up something. It's just a suggestion and you all can say no or vote no, but I would like to include the Pledge of Allegiance at the beginning of our meetings.
You were supposed to do that early.
Well, I figured I had to get votes first, so we'll do it next time if you vote it in.
And that is something we can put in our procedures or rules. Yes, and that's the thing, the procedures and rules, we can actually determine how we want to run the meeting and stuff, and that would be one of them. Another would be the rules for public comment. 2 minutes, keep on subject, stuff like that.
Okay. Board members, anything else? Anything else? Is there a motion to adjourn?
That didn't answer my question. So we're waiting until we get those rules.
If you want,
Or
to,
in-
we haven't closed this meeting, so if
Yes.
you would like
I
to
would like the
make that
motion
motion.
that we add that as after roll call.
Okay, it's not on the agenda, so we really can't bring it up and take a vote on it. It has to be on the agenda, as I understand it, to vote on any matter. So we can put it on the agenda. We can put rules and procedures on the agenda for the next meeting. And then we can discuss them,
And maybe we'll
propose them and vote. Is that
we'll have
correct?
some in front of
He's
us at that
correct.
point. Okay.
Yeah, if you want to, Miss Vance, Scott, your Director of Planning and Redevelopment, I would suggest that if you're going to make rules, talk about them all holistically, where you can list them out, where it makes it much more easier for people who are putting them together.
Right.
But keep that in mind, and it's going to be documented in our records, and that way, when we set out the rules and procedures, next month, if you so elect to put that on there to have a discussion. New business, you just put it in your new business and say, hey, we're going to set out our rules and procedures. It just makes it easier for us as when we write them up. So we have them all collected, our thoughts, because next month you'll be like, oh yeah, what was I supposed to add? Oh yeah, the Pledge of Allegiance, So just a thought, and you don't have to do that. That's just my
And that is good advice. So I think since we're looking for those rules and regulations, maybe that's something, once we know you have them, that we can look at them and go over them. That might be the time to do it then.
And that's my reason for mentioning it now, is keep it in your head for the next month. Think up what you want, what we should probably consider, or what we've considered in the past and can't find in writing. And next month at the meeting, we can bring all that up and get it all reapproved or discuss it or whatever.
Can I make a suggestion?
Mhm.
If you have to, we will, leaving here, go and try to acquire those rules and regulations. However, if we are unable, we will sit down and we will draft and document new regulations and things of that nature that you guys can look through. And if you have any suggestions, send them to us, and then we will bring it to the full body, and the full body will vote to approve, adjust, make corrections and, things of that nature so that we can have a starting format so that we can utilize our meeting efficiently.
Yes.
So everybody agree on that?
We do, yes.
Sending it ahead of time. You can email me. It's important to email directly me. I would, with saying from you, I would emailing Mr. Hale personally, and email the department so that we can follow, the chain.
Anything else?
Nope.
Anything else? No? Is there a motion to adjourn?
I motion for adjournment.
I have a motion by Ms. Vance, second?
Second.
Second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Let's go home.
Let's go home.